Never before have I ever had to do a video, but this video screamed it had to be made because I have been inundated with questions on the Loaded. And the number one question is, well, is it better? What's your opinion? I get it, right? I felt the exact same way. Before I was signed on with JFlowers, I had the BRKR. I bought this myself. And well, I made a short. As soon as I found out that the Loaded was coming out and I saw the price of the Loaded, I rushed out to the pool hall and I made this short. And I think it's important that I show it to you. I want to talk about the JFlowers BRKR because with the announcement of the new Loaded brake cue coming out from JFlowers, I think now is the time that we have a serious discussion about the two types of breakers that JFlowers is going to be offering. So like these are my results here with the BRKR. It's $375. It hits like a sledgehammer. It's an amazing breaker. The Loaded is coming out, $469 sale price, but that is going to be going up to close to $600. All right. So now we have to have this serious discussion. JFlowers, what did you do to improve the breaker to get results better than what I was getting in this video here? Okay. Because I mean, we all have to agree setting ourselves up for a run out, setting ourselves up for success is paramount, and nothing's going to replace fundamentals. I mean, I've been working very hard on my fundamentals for braking for the first time in my life, really practicing my brake, trying to control that cue ball. And let me tell you, the JFlowers BRKR absolutely delivers. I just proved it to you here in this video. So the Loaded, what are we doing? Are we going to be paying for inlays? What changed? What's going to make it way better than the BRKR? Because right now there's no reviews out there. I look forward to it. I hope that it is monumentally better than this because the BRKR, it's the real deal. Link in the description if this video helped you, okay? Peace. So the emotion that I had, if I had to describe the number one emotion that I was having, was that I was offended. And that is the utmost compliment to JFlowers. With the BRKR, they made a pool cue so good. It performed so well. And at the price point that it still is at, it competes with the competition that are twice as much, 3 times as much as this cue, okay? This is, I can't say enough about the BRKR. I never did a review on it. A lot of people got the BRKR and they threw out their videos, and I just didn't want to follow any of that up. I just wanted to play with it, and it was amazing. But then the Loaded comes out and the price of the Loaded comes out. So once and for all, I dug down and I'm going to get the information out to you. So let's just tackle this. Welcome back, everybody. So let me get my declaration out of the way. As I mentioned earlier, I am a signed JFlowers ambassador. Are my opinions biased? Absolutely, they are biased. However, I will never tell you what to do. In fact, what I always tell you to do is try everybody, okay? I have a good feeling that you might come back to JFlowers because I think that their products speak for themselves. I play with these products. They're amazing. Moving on. Let's just start at the bottom of this cue, okay? And we'll work our way up, and then we'll start talking about the differences, and we'll talk about a few other things like why this is right for you, okay? So at the very bottom, you've got an extension ready bumper. So if you want to add weight, if that's your preference, then you can always add weight. You've got a metal butt cap with a nice JFlowers etching on the one side and the JFS etching on the other side. Then you move on up into the maple butt. Maple butt is the exact same as the maple butt on the BRKR, same material. On the Loaded, you've got I counted 7 aluminum inlaid rings on the butt itself, okay? That's gonna add to the price. That metal butt cap adds to the price. I'm gonna go, as I go up, you're gonna see why the price has gone up. So you've got those aluminum inlaid metal rings, then you've got vulcanized rubber grip. If you don't like the rubber grip, then you can get the wrapless, right? And it's more in line with the BRKR. However, with this vulcanized grip, you've got a couple titles on the bottom of the grip, locked, and then on the other side, loaded. I dig that. Can you see the seam on the grip? Absolutely. I think it would be really hard to hide it. It's a definite seam there, not a deal breaker for me. If that's something that you don't like, then don't get the vulcanized rubber grip because you can see it. Moving on up, you've got more of those inlaid rings. Then you've got sort of like a target overlaid symbol, targets on each quarter of the cue. Moving on up, you've got the loaded, looks like a bullet on 2 sides of the cue. And then moving on to the top, you've got 2 more inlaid aluminum rings. And then you've got the quick release joint. That is a big difference between these two. The BRKR has a 3/8 by 8 pin. This one has a quick release joint. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Moving on to the shaft. You've got 2 rings with a red accent in between the rings. Then you've got the shaft. It is the next generation shaft. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Going on to the top. Then you've got another red accent, a white sight plate, and then you have the biggest change, which is the tip, right? The BRKR has a phenolic ferrule tip combo. It's the same piece, incredibly hard. This one here has their new proprietary tip, okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. That's basically the rundown of the Loaded, okay? It also comes with metal joint protectors, which is probably going to be a higher cost as well, okay? So that's everything, right? Talking about price, obviously a lot more aspects to this cue during the manufacturing process are going to make it slower and more expensive to make, okay? This one's coming in at quite a bit more, on sale even, than the BRKR, okay? So for some, that's going to be a detracting factor in their decision to purchase the Loaded. So you guys took the time to subscribe to this channel, and if you haven't, hit the subscribe button, okay? Right there. Really helps me out, it helps the channel out. So you guys took the time to subscribe, so it's my job to try to get you some information that's not readily out there. So I rattled the cages of some big dogs, and I got some information. So I had some questions that I didn't know about, okay? So I'm just gonna rapid fire them off for you, okay? So the Loaded, right now, $479 on sale from $599. So they're saying on JFlowersQs.com that potentially this is going to go up to $599. I asked, how long will the sale last? I was told at least through the summer, okay? And then after that, no promises, everyone. So right now, the Loaded on sale. If you're close to buying, probably the best decision that you could make is save yourself some money because it's going to be going up to $599. The new tip. Can you give me any sort of information? How was it developed, right? The answer I got, the tip is the creation of the factory owner. He is an engineer by trade, and he has been very instrumental in not just the creation of the cue making machinery, but also the technology that goes into the cues, okay? Interesting, I didn't know that. That's awesome. The tip is an epoxy infused layered leather. So it's not these synthetic microfiber tips that are coming out that are kind of like, I don't want to call them a fad, but they're experimental, right? Their selling feature is that they are going to last a great deal longer. They're not going to mushroom as fast as leather. So I said the tip is an epoxy infused layered leather, much like a Samsara. We might offer it for sale, but we're not sure yet. For those who ask, right now I suggest replacing with a Samsara for similar feel and control. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The weight. So that is a big difference here. The weight is coming in at 18.7 ounces and the BRKR is 19.5 ounces. So that's almost 1 whole ounce lighter, okay? We're gonna talk more about that, but that is a big difference, okay? The shaft diameter on the Loaded is at 12.9. This is a 13 millimeter. 0.1 of a millimeter, I don't know what that's really doing. Perhaps, I mean, the theory behind that is maybe you have a little bit more precision. I'm not gonna go there. It's 0.1 of a millimeter. You can debate it all you want. Now this one's interesting. I want to go back to the weight here. I forgot that he had said this. To eventually educate people that a lighter break weight actually scatters the balls more. It's physics. The faster you get from point A to point B, bracket your stroke, the more energy you transfer to the cue ball. Everyone wants heavier, but they don't understand the physics. I've had this conversation with my friend Darcy, who knows a hell of a lot more than I do about cues because he made cues. In fact, I want to go and have this conversation so that in his words, he can talk to you about it. So the first question I got for you is basically weight, right? Mm-hmm. So I went up to you and I said, hey, can you throw some weight into my Mally? Yeah. And you set me straight. So in your own words.
In my own words, my personal opinion, I think a break cue should be 2 ounces lighter than your playing cue. Because you're already used to your playing cue. You know how to transfer, you know how to hit hard. With that same energy, you'll get the cue moving faster if your break cue's lighter. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to overwork it. Most breaks you miss because you're really getting after it. You bring your backswing way too far and you miss cue and lose weighty. Speed is the most important thing. Really not power, but speed. Just like golf, the faster you can get that thing moving, the more power you can impart to the cue ball, to the rack, and hopefully make a ball in the break and run out. Yeah, and that was how they explained it to me, is club head speed, and that's your exact words. Yeah.
A year ago you said to me.
I've been spouting that for decades. Yeah. Decades. We just married. We just weighed my break cue, and it was 17 and a half.
Right.
Yeah, so I practice what I preach.
So that's basically over an ounce lighter than even what the Loaded is coming in.
Absolutely.
So you do practice what you preach.
For sure. Yeah. And a lot of people, especially weaker people, they feel like with a heavier cue, they just have to drop it and it'll get a lot of power. I'm more about speed, not power. It sounds like the same thing, but it's totally different. But yeah, I've been telling people for years and years and years, take the weight out. Don't put it in. Make it lighter.
So JFlowers is onto something.
Sure, they're just a decade behind me, but not everybody gets to start at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's interesting, right? I didn't understand that rationale. So, for example, here's my old Mally. So before I started taking breaking a whole lot more seriously, I had my old Mally. I took it to my friend Mark Lockman. I said, can you just throw a phenolic tip on there? So that's what he did. It's just a phenolic ferrule, very flat shaped. And I thought that was going to give me power. I went to Darcy one day and I said, hey, Darcy, do you think you can help me throw more weight in there? And he's like, why? Why? People have got to get off of this weight thing, right? You need to take weight out. It's club head speed, right? Which he just explained to you. And that was a little bit eye-opening to me, right? So interesting debate, right? What I would say is that just like golf is we're all getting older and maybe we aren't capable of getting that club head speed, cue head speed, whatever you want to call it, right? We don't have that quickness. Maybe adding weight eventually will get us to the point where, you know, the cue does a little bit more of the work, right? Here's the thing about weight. Let's have a discussion. There's my tangent of the video. Do you think that giving it all you got, giving it everything you got, is the right way to break all the time? Do you think that breaking on a 7-foot table like this is the same as breaking on a 9-foot table? Do you think that you should be able to adapt? Do you think that you should change the weight of your break, right? I have very definite answers. The answer, a lot of them, is yes. You have to be able to adapt. You shouldn't break the same way on a 7-foot as you do on a 9-foot, right? What kind of break are you trying to accomplish? Okay? Are you trying to accomplish a pop break, right? To try to control that cue ball? Are you trying to shoot second ball break, right? Do you think that you need to give it everything that you got on a second ball break? Should you use a second ball break on a 7-foot? Should you use it on a 9-foot? You have to answer these questions. What are you looking for? These are the tools that'll get you there. Even this one. This is a tool. I use this for years, right? right? Technology increases and we have to make decisions and we have to evolve. Or we don't have to. I mean, we can use this tool, but you know, I saw people with these newer brake cues getting spreads that I wasn't able to get with this. I just wasn't, right? The technology that goes into these things is well thought out, right? Now, how much you want to pay for them, that's another story. So there's two questions that I asked and they ended up being top secret. I'm not allowed to talk about it. The first one is the quick release and the method to their madness, the decision they made to go with that joint. Like I said, there's method behind their madness. There's a reason why they went. So you'll find out in the near future on why they did that. The one that really excites me though is next gen carbon fiber. What does that mean? So I asked that question. The answer I got back was it genuinely excited me. I thought that it was an excellent answer and decision by JFlowers. That's all I can say. It's top secret. Eventually it'll come out and hopefully I'm one of the first to let you know what that means, next gen carbon fiber. But it is a game changer. That's all I can say. All right, so what's my opinion on these two cues, okay? Which one do I use? I use the Loaded. My rationale is completely narcissistic, right? My full plane set now is the MVP, which I'll throw the video up there if you haven't seen my video on the MVP playing cue. And I have the RPG breaker. They all have a metal butt cap, right? So now I have what I feel to be a matching set, right? That's narcissism right there, right? It's looks, right? I believe this is a completely stunning cue. I love red and black. If this was blue and something, I probably wouldn't be using it just because it wouldn't match. And I like red and black. I said, look, I love the color scheme of red and black. Okay. That's why I bought this. I had a choice between the blue one. I bought the red one because that's what I like. That's just looks, right? This is overlay. You've got some inlay work here. I've talked about that. So yeah, the price is more. Is it different? Yeah, it's absolutely different. The tip. I've said it in past videos is I believe the order of importance in a cue start at the top and you work your way down. And it's kind of ironic because the tip generally is a consumable, right? So you wouldn't think that that's the most important part of a cue, but I consider the tip to be right up there, right? It's debatable on if you think the shaft or the tip is more important. The tip is a consumable. This is their new piece of technology. This is their proprietary tip that they're potentially selling individually in the future, but right now there's no commitment to do that. So they've got that tip, okay? That is the main difference between the BRKR, that's phenolic. So the main difference is the hardness, right? With the Loaded, you're going to get, if everything is the same with your fundamentals, you're going to get more controllability. It's not as hard as this. The BRKR, it's easier to lose the cue ball, in my opinion, okay? Because it's harder. You have to truly understand what you're hitting, okay? Does that mean that you can't control the cue ball with the BRKR? No, right? I've proven that in my short there, how good this thing can break, right? You can do the same thing with this one. However, there's an adjustment, right? You have to adjust because you've got a different hardness and tip, right? You've got, like I said, that 0.1 of a millimeter in shaft diameter, but I'm not even going to talk about that because I don't view it as being very important myself. The difference in the hardness, okay? Now, that's about it. Does the joint matter? Does the joint matter? Debatable. It is debatable. I've always been in the camp, and I've said that in other videos as well, is I want tighter. The tighter the better. Because the tighter the better, the more it resembles a one piece. And that was the point of two-piece cues back in the day, was to try to make it feel like a one piece, right? That's why I was a huge Hubler fan, because their joint was super tight. That is Mez's thing, is tight, 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 right? And I honestly believe that if JFlowers has any innovations, and this is always my suggestion, is make that joint tighter. The Loaded's got that quick release. So that's, I mean, I'm not saying it's not tight, but this is tighter. It's a 3/8 by 8. How could it be as tight? Who knows if it makes a difference? The main difference though is the weight, right? And we're talking about the club head speed. The shafts are, this one on the Loaded is 0.1 of an ounce lighter than the BRKR shaft. So that means the vast majority of the weight difference is in the butt. How much of a difference does it make? That's that club head speed argument, right? I think the science is pretty sound in that, right? Like golfers are all about club head speed. And why shouldn't we as pool players, right? So like I said earlier, it's going to depend on you. And quite frankly, it's going to depend on how you move, right? Some people can't bend down anymore. I don't bend down. My knees don't bend anymore when I go down to grab the balls, or if I'm not 20 anymore, right? I'm turning 50 in December. So we don't bend the same way. So you have to make a decision for yourself, right? There's an argument that if you're an older gentleman or a woman, that you're going to add a little bit of weight to make it easier on you and let the cue do it, right? And then there's others that are saying, that would probably say that that's bogus and you need to always be lighter so that you can move fast. Who knows? I'm not going to get involved in that, but that's the main difference between the two. I had a discussion with Darcy about, in another review, about potentially shaving down the phenolic and how hard that would be. So if price is a big deal, after everything that I said, that's a potential option for you. You could buy a BRKR, take it to your cube person, get them to shave the phenolic down flat, and get them to throw a Samsara on there. Would the hit be the same as the Loaded? Probably not. Would it be a hell of a lot closer to the Loaded? Yes, I think so, right? Because I value the importance of a tip, right? I think it is extremely important. And I got it straight from a person at JFlowers that if you want a similar hit, buy a Samsara. So what's stopping you from taking this BRKR, taking that down flat and throwing a Samsara on there and trying that out? You might get the same controllability that you get with the Loaded, or you'll get a hell of a lot closer to the hit and feel that you get with the Loaded. And you've saved yourself some money.
Yeah, so that last video we did on a jump cue, I tried it out. I really kind of liked it, but I thought it would be improved with a better tip. But you were pretty concerned about how that was possible. And I said, it's really easy. And now I'm going to show you, because I actually have an old one-piece phenolic jump cue here that I used to build. This was the first generation of jump cues that I did. And I'm going to turn it on and show you just how simple it is to put a different tip onto this guy. We can see this is really, really strong stuff.
That's phenolic, right?
This is phenolic, yeah. After phenolic, I went to G10. And then after G10, I went to an ivorine ferrule with a Town jump brake tip. So my own cues that I build, obviously I like to improve on things. And that's my favorite combination. So in essence, this is now just a regular old standard ferrule. And I'll glue a tip on here. And that would be a converted one-piece phenolic brake tip to a standard. Put whatever you want on there.
Okay, because basically what I'm suggesting in the video is if people can't get past the price of the Loaded, this is basically an alternative. If they want to buy the BRKR, which is a brake cue that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
but they want to try to get the feel of a loaded, this is an option.
Absolutely.
You take it to your Q person, they flatten it out and they put the brake tip on.
Yeah.
Whatever tip you want to try.
Yeah, there's a few good ones on the market right now that are available. And really, if somebody, I've done this procedure, I don't know how many thousands times. I don't charge extra to do that. I just charge a price of the tip too. So it's a pretty inexpensive proposition to get something that you might like better.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Different feel, right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Cheers, bud.
Cheers.
I'm not talking you out or trying to talk you into anything in this video like I always do. What is my suggestion for you? Go out there, try the competition, right? Do not go rush out and buy these. Go to a pool hall. I guarantee you there's going to be players down there that have a Predator. They have a Q-Tech. They have a Mez even. Try those brake cues out. Just ask. People are very happy to but let you try their equipment because there's a lot of brand loyalty. And they'll talk it up because they love it. They love their equipment. They love the game. They love playing it, right? Definitely try these two cues out. Price-wise, even the loaded, price-wise is still extremely competitive price-wise, all right? Come back, try these out. I think you're really going to come to the conclusion that it's not worth the money to buy the others when you can get this type of performance. I'm not going to make any decisions for you, but that is my honest opinion. So that's everything. I don't think I forgot anything about these two breakers. Both are amazing. They hit slightly different, right? In the end, it's all you. How do you move? Where are you in life? And what are you trying to, and here's the most important, if you take anything away from this video, what are you trying to accomplish on your brake, right? Hitting it, everything you got. Balls to the wall probably isn't the best way to brake, right? There are nuances to this game, and that is probably the biggest misconception is hit it as hard as you can. Absolutely not. Don't do that. Think about that. I'm going to be putting out a video in the very near future about getting to a baseline brake. I just got to find the time to do it. I'm a pretty busy guy. But I had to get this video out here because from now on, at this point, when someone asks me about the loaded, I'm just going to drop this link. Watch the video. And that's where I'm at. Both amazing brake cues, both offer something a little bit different, okay? And you have to make the decision yourself. That's it. If you haven't subscribed, absolutely, I've said it before, please do. That helps me out. I'm pushing to 10,000 subscribers. I'm still a little guy here, but yeah, that helps a great deal. In the meantime, and in between time, I will catch you on the flip side. Peace.